WNOV 860 and W293CX 106.5 Milwaukee. The views and opinions expressed on this show do not reflect that of the staff and management of WNOV and W293CX 106.5 FM Courier Communications Milwaukee, but are the sole comments of the hosts and guests of this particular show.
Coming up on the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener Radio Show,
we're going to talk about companion planting. Which one of your plants get along with the others?
What was the Victory Garden and what happened to it?
And we're going to have Haley Thomas. She's a motivational speaker, a teen vegan chef, and a health advocate, and she's only 16.
Tell your friends Garden Radio's on the air. It all starts right now.
You're tuned in to the only vegetable gardening radio show in Milwaukee, with your host, Joey Baird, who grew up in the country but now lives closer to the city, and Hallie Baird, who has always been a city girl. Combined, they have over 25 years of gardening experience, who believe in simple gardening practices. A gardener for all gardeners, founders of the WisconsinVegetableGardener.com, where they created over 800 how-to garden videos to teach others how to grow more of what they eat. Join them for the next hour as they discuss vegetable gardening and more.
It is the Wisconsin Vegetable Garden Radio Show on 860 AM WNOV and W293CX 106.5. Wherever you may be listening, however you may be listening, whether through those stations, the simple radio app, the TuneIn app, the radio tab on the WisconsinVegetableGardener.com website, social media, anywhere in between. I am your host, Joey Baird. Beside me is my wife, best friend, co-host, and gardening partner,
Holly Baird.
We've got a jam-packed show for you, and the reason why we are here every Saturday morning at 9 a.m. is for you, the listeners, so we can help you grow better. And the sponsors are what pay the bills that allow us to be here each and every Saturday morning.
Nasella Kombucha is executive sponsor of the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener Radio Show. Nasella is made in Wisconsin with local tea and natural herbs. Look for it in the refrigerator aisle at your local grocer. If you don't see it, ask for it, because if it's not Nasella Kombucha, it's not kombucha. For more information, visit Nasella.com. And keep in mind, you can call anytime during the show with your question, gardening question, or comment on the ivyorganic.com hotline. Ivy Organic 3-in-1 Plant Guard naturally protects plants against damaging sunburn, insects, and rodents. Protects newly installed plants and trees, shields pruned and damaged surfaces for use on your roses, fruit and nut trees, ornamental trees, and shrubs. This product is non-toxic, environmentally safe, and organic. For more information, visit ivyorganics.com, and that number to call in is 414-444-5250.
You can also contact us through Twitter by using hashtag TWVG. You can email us at any time during the show or throughout the week with your garden questions at twvgradio@gmail.com. Well, we had a great turnout this past, Wednesday night? Thursday night? Thursday night.
Yeah, Thursday.
At West Allis Public Library, where we talked on how to grow the best tomatoes. And we want to say hi to those individuals who came and are now listening to the show. We also have talks this Monday, 7 p.m., West Bend Public Library. We're going to talk about potatoes. And May 2nd, this Tuesday, we're going to be in Franklin at the Franklin Public Library at 7 p.m. talking on straw bale gardening. So that'll be exciting. We hope to see you there. If you want to know where we will be at, where you will be at, you can check out the Come See Us tab under the radio, the Come See Us tab on our website, the WisconsinVegetableGardener.com. And if you have a group, club, organization, business, gathering in which you would like us to speak, you can contact us under the Speaking Request tab or email us at twvgradio@gmail.com. Well, we've got a lot to get to today. We've got a lot of information, and we're going to start with companion planting. Now, companion planting, Holly, let's define these, because I say every week when we talk about a subject, let's define this topic.
Okay, so companion planting is essentially the close planting of different plants that enhance each other's growth or protect each other from pests or other. They can also benefit, but then on the same note, they could possibly not benefit each other as well. So there's like companion planting and not companion planting.
Bad neighbors.
Right, bad neighbors.
But there is a side note here, something we want to make aware of when it comes to companion planting, that it's not really science-based here.
Right, so it does embrace some strategies such as biodiversity of agricultural ecosystems, basically meaning what's going on in your backyard or side yard or front yard. But it's not scientifically proven. However, throughout the years, people have said this has been effective for me when I plant this plant with this plant, and it works for me.
There is a little bit of chemistry that goes along with this, and we'll get to that in a moment. Now, what we are typically, and we'll get more into this in the Victory Garden talk in the second segment, what we're talking about companion planting is incorporating a plant and another plant and another plant, and all being different, all in the same area, the general area, the same bed. So with that being said, there are some, when you go and you look on your favorite search engine at companion planting charts, you can pull up 10 companion planting charts, and you can get about 8 different scenarios. It's not 4 plus 4 is always 8. There's a lot of variables with companion planting, and simply because there's not that university extension study, that science behind it. And we want to make you aware of that because, it's one of these things when we go to talks and somebody says, hey, I've been doing this particular method of planting or harvesting or growing for 38 years, and you're telling me to do something different. What should I do? Continue to do what you've always done because it's been successful for you. For a new beginner, for a new gardener, this can be overwhelming, this information, because there's so much out there that we want you to be aware of it. But in the end, if it's been working for you or your grandmother or your aunt or your neighbor or whoever, continue those practices in which has been successful for you. But we'll go over some of these things and explain a little bit about what's good and what's bad and some of the reasonings why, based on a number of reliable sources in which we were able to find.
And also keep in mind, you might look up companion planting for beans, and you might find 10 different things. And
we found about 4 different things.
Right. So you want to keep that in mind as well. The one thing you could do is you could always try it and see what happens for you. But then we also found things that seem to be common as well.
Go ahead.
Like, for example, one is legumes, which are things like beans and peas and
it'd be clover, things that fix their own nitrogen in their roots.
And that's even peanuts are legumes as well. And it did state several times not to plant them with chives, garlic, leeks, onions, and all of those are members of the allium family. So not alien, allium. Yeah. And those are, it seems like that's because of a chemical reaction. So that did seem common.
Which makes sense because you're in the fermenting world. You do a lot of fermentation, and if you ferment one jar next to another jar of a different type of item, the chemical reaction or the fragrance or however you want to the gases,
the gases
will interact and mess both jars up. So there's some science here, and based on your education, this makes legitimate sense by not planting. Now, when we talk about companion planting, what is the buffering zone? How far apart does these things need to be separated before you go, okay, well, I followed a chart and I kept peppers away from X plant this far, so I should be fine?
Basically, it needs to be about a foot or more, ideally about 2 feet. So if you have your bed separated out, you want to just keep something in between them.
You just don't want to have a pepper plant and a plant that doesn't go with peppers every alternating. You want it to have
say you're doing onions and beans in the same bed or same area. So do you want to do beans and then plant like some kale or flowers or something? And then plant your onions.
Yeah. So what other things here are do's and what are some don'ts here that we've seen kind of consistent among all of the charts that we have studied and looked at? Because, again, we looked at this and we were slightly confused. And if we are confused with I don't want to say we're experts, but we know what we're doing to a certain degree. If we were confused, then the general average weekend gardener would be just floored by all this information that nothing's consistent to a general sense.
So some of this stuff just seems ridiculous. Like this one says to put marjoram, which is an herb, in your beds and gardens to sweeten the taste of vegetable and herbs.
I wish I had a button because that's just not true. No. There's no way that you can plant one plant next to another plant to increase or decrease the flavor or the sweetness of that plant. That just simply is not true. There's no physiological science behind that. It just doesn't work.
Right, and you'll see this stuff just like anything you see on Pinterest or Facebook or whatnot, and that seems like really good. And if it seems like almost too good to be true. It probably is.
It's like some people...
You have to think about... You don't need a degree in science to think, okay...
Common sense.
It's just common sense, yeah. To think, okay, if I plant something next to my tomatoes, it's going to make them taste better.
Well,
that doesn't make any sense.
That's the other garden myth. I think the garden myth is you put so much sugar in the hole at the time of planting a tomato to increase to make it sweeter or something off the wall.
You're just wasting your money.
Yeah, off the wall like that. There's another one, you put a little horseradish near your potatoes to increase the disease resistance. Now, that does make sense.
Yeah, but
here's the problem. Potatoes take about 90 to 135 days to grow based on the variety. Horseradish is a perennial. It will grow there for 10, 15 years. And you harvest the roots and that type of thing. So if you're planting it near a horseradish, you're essentially planting the potatoes in the same spot every single year, or you're taking chunks of horseradish and incorporating it through your edible garden. So you got horseradish everywhere, or you got potatoes growing in the same spot, and you got to rotate this stuff. So that's another thing that doesn't make sense to me.
Now this one says don't plant dill near carrots. I wouldn't plant dill in the ground at all.
Yeah.
We had a disastrous mess with that. So I definitely
3-4 years ago.
Yeah, we probably are still getting dill.
Yeah, we planted in containers in a place that 2 years following that would be a ground garden. And then a year or 2 years, we ended up getting 1 gallon, 2 half-gallon mason jar full of clean dill seed. And we still, I think we smothered it out to a certain point because I put so much mulch on the bed.
So if you're going to plant dill, I definitely would plant it in a container away from any ground you might want to grow in at some point.
And when it starts going to seed, catch it before it distributes the seeds. And because in some areas it's considered an invasive species, and we fully understand why. So some other don'ts here is...
Okay, and then this one says summer cornfields can be quickly converted into pumpkin fields. Pumpkins take like 110 days to grow. So if you're planting your pumpkin seeds after your corn is ready, you've missed the boat.
Yeah, we're not in Mississippi here.
Right.
We're doesn't work here. We've basically got about 140-ish days on a good year of frost-free temperatures.
I do like how it talks about how pumpkins do prevent or basically are a ground cover.
And that makes sense.
That does make sense.
That's part of the Three Sisters thing the Native Americans utilized. Yes, that works good. Other things here, you don't want to plant peppers near squash or strawberries or tomatoes, which strawberries is a perennial, and that's kind of confusing too. But when we get to stuff like this, we want to make you aware that a lot of this is just hearsay, a bunch of old farmers sitting on the porch talking. There is, again, like we discussed, some legitimacy, some common sense that may...
And we're not trying to confuse you and say,
we're trying to deconfuse you because we were confused.
Right.
Yeah.
So you just want to think, when you find things like this, because companion planting does come up all the time, everywhere, and just take it with a grain of salt. Think, okay, does this make sense? Like the whole planting a plant next to the other plant to make it sweeter. That doesn't make sense.
And then we found a couple of them where it said sunflowers need to be planted at least 12 inches away from any other plant. Well, we incorporate sunflowers in amongst our tomato bed, and we've never we've never seen what we would say is something's not right here type of a view or observation. So it's some of these things when it comes to companion planting. Just continue to do the way that you've been taught, the way you've seen people do it. Now, again, you can do some, intermixing, herbs around your squash to deter some of the squash bugs. Those herbs emit that.
Now that does make sense.
That herb that emits that fragrance to confuse the bugs, so they don't attack your squashes. That makes sense. But for the general, don't plant this next to that. You kind of take it with a grain of salt. Review it, look at it. If it makes common sense to you, go ahead and do it. If it seems like, hey, this doesn't seem right, don't do it.
And if you check 4 different sources and they all do say the same thing, then go for it.
Yeah. When we come back, we will get to a topic that does make a lot of sense to everybody, and we will talk about the Victory Garden, not the PBS show, but what it was in World War II that helped supply the country with food that was needed during the war efforts, right after this.
Have a gardening question? Email Joey and Holly at twvgradio@gmail.com.
Really Granola is a small batch Wisconsin-made granola available at reallygranola.com. This granola uses many organic ingredients and features Wisconsin products such as beautiful red Wisconsin cranberries, local honey, and other delicious Wisconsin products. You'll find plenty of fiber and protein in Really Granola, which makes it a great way to start or end your day. This granola is baked in a Wisconsin co-packing kitchen that helps to employ disabled workers. Find Really Granola near you or to buy online, visit reallygranola.com. Mycorrhizae is a beneficial fungus from plantsuccess.com that will greatly increase your plant's germination, ability, and a healthier root structure. You can increase seed sprouting, root growth, and general plant germination. Mycorrhizae can be used with hydroponics, root cutting, seed sprouting, cocoa coir, and soil. Plantsuccess.com carries powder, granule, and tablet forms of mycorrhizae. Increase the level of mycorrhizae in your soil for your plants to give them the optimal opportunity to produce an incredible harvest. For more information and to purchase, visit plantsuccess.com.
Garden seeds do not have to cost a fortune. Just 99 cents at migardener.com. With over 300 varieties of non-GMO, heirloom, and organic flower, vegetable, and herb seeds available year-round, pay less and get more seeds. Shipping as low as $2.50. That just makes sense. Go to migardener.com for seeds and gardening needs, tools, and special blend fertilizer. migardener.com. It's that simple. Family owned and operated. Mantis Plant Protection Professional Grade Organic Pest Control Solutions. They offer Mantis EC concentrated or ready to use sprays. Certified organic and environmentally friendly insect killer. Gentle on pollinators and other organisms, but effective in killing soft-bodied insects and spider mites fast. Safe around your children and pets. They also have the cleanest and whitest diatomaceous earth on the market. Visit mantispp.com to receive a free organic pesticide cheat sheet, which is a list of organic insecticides that are used effectively and kills insects fast. Visit mantispp.com to download it today.
I want a garden center that listens to and understands my needs.
I want to buy my gardening products from a local business with strong ties to the community.
All I want is a garden center that truly values their customers.
It seems like everyone is selling plants these days, but I'm having a hard time finding quality.
I take pride in my garden, so I want my garden center to take pride in their products.
Where will you be going for all of your gardening needs this season? Blue Mel's Garden Center. We are your answer.
Blue Mel's, 4930 West Loomis Road, 414-282-4220.
Now back to the Wisconsin Vegetable Garden Radio Show with your hosts, Joey and Hallie Baird.
It is the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener Radio Show, the WisconsinVegetableGardener.com, your destination for all things gardening, 850-plus videos, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and a whole lot more for free. Well, Holly, we are the only garden radio show in Milwaukee, produced in Milwaukee. I know there's a station on the FM side low that pumps in some stuff from Madison. But if you're the only one, can you be number one?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're the only one, we're number one.
Yeah.
So that works. Well, talking about number one fruit production, produce being brought to your driveway or at least your neighborhood in just a couple of months from TreeRipe.com. That's pretty cool, too.
If you like fresh produce delivered right to your neighborhood, you should check out Tree Ripe Citrus Company. You can find out where to pick up top-quality produce from tree-ripe.com. They have beautiful, tasty peaches and juicy, sweet blueberries. If you're sick of bland, mealy peaches and lackluster blueberries from your grocer, check out tree-ripe.citrus.com. They come right to a stop in your neighborhood, fresh off the truck, right from the source. For location and schedules, visit tree-ripe.com. They have locations all over Iowa, Upper and Lower Michigan, Minnesota, Illinois, and right here in Wisconsin. Tree-ripe.com is your go-to for the freshest produce around.
To find them and to find all the sponsors that make this show possible, under the radio tab on our website, the WisconsinVegetableGardener.com, you can click on them, go to their website, see all the products they have, and tell them thank you for supporting the show that allows you to listen to us every Saturday morning. Well, the Victory Garden, not the PBS show, the Victory Garden, the traditional Victory Garden, we're going to discuss what it was and what happened to it.
Okay, so the Victory Garden were also called war gardens or food gardens for defense, were planted at both private residence and on public land during World War I and World War II to reduce pressure on the public food supply. At that time, things like sugar, butter, milk, cheese, eggs, and coffees, meat and canned goods, there were shortages, there was rations, and
it didn't matter how rich you was or what your name was, you were allotted so much. End of story.
So then people were encouraged to plant their own gardens and fruits and vegetables. So
government encouraged.
Yeah.
When would we ever see that again?
I don't know.
Government encouraged, hey, folks, we want you as a government to help feed everybody. Okay,
Right.
It's backwards now, but
and
go ahead.
So over 20 million Americans decided to do this. People pooled their resources. They worked together. They created different things like cooperatives, all for patriotism. And now it's nobody wants to talk to their neighbor.
Right.
Half the time.
And with this, it was a very different type of technique. I believe there was, cards and posters and all of this. And we've seen this out.
Even magazines like the Saturday Evening Post and Life magazines would print stories about victory gardens. Women's magazines gave instructions on how to preserve and grow foods. And even there was over 315,000 pressure cookers or canners bought and in that time for people to do their own canning.
Right. And now the media is like, if it's not something bad, nobody wants to talk to you. Just real quickly, we are going to be on TMJ4 tomorrow morning between about 6 a.m. and 7. So if you want to tune in.
Probably like around 6:45-ish.
Yeah. So just keep that in mind if you want to tune in and see us there. With that, the Victory Garden, typical, a Victory Garden for a family of 5. A Victory Garden for a family of 5 was about 25 feet by 50 feet. And they have charts available. You can look online now, but you was able to go down and get a chart, and it explained you planted radish at a certain time. It gave you the dimensions and the spacings and how many inches apart each row needed to be in order to make sure you continually had something in the ground and you were harvesting it.
And you would get this through basically the government. I'm sure local libraries and different government affiliated offices and whatnot had this information, and there was promotional posters, all sorts of things to help promote you being a victory grower, victory gardener.
And it made a significant impact on the food supply. 40 million pounds of food was produced just during the World War II efforts. And it was just an incredible come together. Now, most of us, we've been through, many of us, the Iraqi war, the Afghan, that type of thing. But we've never seen the impact of what a world war was like. Now, maybe some of you remember this as a child, or you remember this, your family or your grandparents, your parents telling you about the wartime efforts and the rations. But we have never, for the majority of us who are listening, we have never seen anything such as this, and hope we do not, because I don't think we would really know how to react to such an event in our generation.
Right, and if you want to see some of the different ideals and propaganda, you can just go to do a search online, and some of these posters are really neat. There's Plant a Garden for Victory, or I'm a Victory Gardener, and it was really a really positive thing.
Right, and with the chart and everything, it wasn't just it's Memorial Day weekend, we'll put some tomatoes and peppers in the ground. This was it's a full-time thing.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing, during World War I, World War II, you didn't have woodmans or beans and barley to run down to and pick up a couple of pounds of potatoes or carrots or whatever. You didn't grow it, you didn't eat it.
Right.
That was what it came down to. So they had this fresh produce, and many of you probably remember your grandparents canning, and that was even after wartime efforts. But what happened to the Victory Garden after the World Wars, World War I and World War II? What happened to them?
So the government promotion of the Victory Gardens ended as well. So many people did not plant a garden the following year, and Big Ag had not geared up yet to full production for grocery stores, so the country experienced some food shortages.
And then after World War II, after that, we're talking early 50s, late in that area, technology started to increase, and chemical companies began to be, a little after the war, because the chemical companies were kind of part of the war effort. And then after the war, there was no money to be made. So what do? They have to figure out how to bring that technology into the civil world to the normal common ordinary people. So then that's where some of these bigger tech and biotech companies, the chemical companies, got developed. Hand labor moved from to computers and tractors and large agricultural applications, plantations, all of this stuff. Well, the plantations were already there. The big agricultural fields and the backyard garden or the community-based garden kind of disappeared because the food was readily available at the grocery store. and it became one of these things of out of sight, out of mind.
Right. It became a modern convenience.
Modern convenience, just like a lot of other things. But that's what happened. Now there are victory gardens that are still around. Many of you're either listening to this show for a couple of reasons. One, because you never turn your radio off of WNOV. Two, you're either a gardener, you want to be a gardener, you know somebody who's a gardener, or you accidentally picked up a gardening magazine at your local dentist office. So you're one of those people. So we're trying to decrease the dependence on the commercially available food that we buy at our grocery store, eat healthier by growing at least something of our own doing on our property, whether it's raised beds, traditional ground garden, or container gardening.
Right.
So, with that being said, the Victory Garden, we want to continue to grow the Victory Garden. We want to continue to grow our own garden and try to maximize the space in which we have available to produce as much as we can. Now, whether you can dehydrate or whatever, it's good to eat, or freeze. It's good to eat fresh produce. We do have a caller on the ivorganics.com hotline. Caller, what is your question?
Hi, I'm James, and I had to work last week, and your young lady friend there, she was looking up grapeseed oil.
Yes. And
to find out if it had antioxidants in it to help your skin stop aging.
Yes. So I looked into that, and yeah, it has good properties in it to help anti-aging. It helps boost the collagen in your skin, and it's non-comedogenic, so it won't clog your pores. And it's also, I guess, been proven to, if you put it under your eyes, if you have circles on your eyes or puffiness, it'll help reduce that as well. So it is encouraged to use on your skin.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, well, keep listening.
Thank you for listening. So the Victory Garden, where did it go? Or what was it? World War II efforts to help supply the country for food. Where did it go after the after the wars were over? The government said not really important anymore, and that's kind of been where we've been sitting since the end of World War II. Well, when it comes to mowing your lawn, which is going to happen here, well, I'm already mowing grass. I don't know, maybe some of you are as well. And you figure when you start mowing grass, you got about 26 more weeks of grass mowing, unless you got the whole backyard and a garden, which would be the best choice. You want to have the best equipment there is, and Arians can set you up with that without any problem at all.
Do you hear that noise? That's your neighbor shaking in their grass-stained shoes, because Arians is about to help you step up your grass-cutting game. Your name is on the mailbox, so the Arians name should be on your mower. Heavy-duty steel construction, smarter, smoother controls, professional cutting performance. The only thing we love more than the smell of freshly cut grass is the sweet taste of victory. Arians, it comes down to this. Visit Arians.com to find your local dealer for lawn and snow removal equipment.
When we come back, Haley Thomas will be with us. She's a 16-year-old vegan chef who's literally been around the world talking about healthy lifestyle, motivational speaking, and healthy living. Right after this.
Tweet Joey and Holly using hashtag TWVG.
Oh, yeah. What you say? You say Nasala Kombucha. It'll put some glide in your stride and some pep in your step. Nasala Kombucha. Yeah.
Nasala Kombucha makes your body happy. Nasala Kombucha makes your body smile.
Do you have a problem with deer or small herbivores eating your vegetation? There is a natural solution that is safe for your pets and family. Bobex is the answer. An environmentally friendly solution to protect your plants, will not wash off, and is guaranteed. Bobex Deer was independently tested against 9 known competitors and rated 93% effective, second only to a physical barrier. Bobex can be used on all types of ornamentals, trees, and shrubs. Ask for it by name at your local independent garden center. Find out more, visit bobex.com. BOBBEX.com.
I have a growing family, and I try to make healthy meals. And one thing I really love about Woodman's is that they have a huge selection of fresh fruits and vegetables. And the quality is really good, too. They even carry locally grown produce, and they keep the prices low, so I can stay within my budget and put a healthy meal on the table. I'm Cameron, and this is my Woodman's.
Do you want your next raised beds to be easy, functional, and beautiful? The Embrace helps you create the garden you've always wanted. Finally, raised beds that everyone can assemble and enjoy. No tools needed. Just slide any lumber into the Embrace corner, fill with your favorite soil mix, and you're ready to plant. Made from 100% recycled steel right here in the USA. And a portion of every sale helps to build school and community gardens all across the country. Let the Embrace help you create your next raised bed. Grow beautifully with the Embrace. Available at local garden centers and online at artofthegarden.net.
Now back to the Wisconsin Vegetable Garden Radio Show with your hosts, Joey and Holly Baird.
It is the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener Radio Show, the WisconsinVegetableGardener.com, your destination for all things gardening. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, 840, 50, 60 videos. We're putting out 9 a week. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel and get to see highlights of the show. You don't have to watch the whole show. You can just click. You can go to the topic in which you want to see, and that's just go to YouTube, the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener. You can find that. Well, next week we will be at Blue Mel's from about 10:30 to 12:30 for their spring kickoff party. It starts at 10 to 2 a.m., rain or shine, which I've looked at the long-range forecast, and it's supposed to be a beautiful day, light winds, low 60s, at Blue Mel's Landscape and Garden Center over on Loomis Road.
So you're looking for a garden center with a wide varieties of plant and garden supplies and knowledgeable staff that can answer all of your gardening questions. Blue Mel's is just the place. They've been around since 1955, family owned and operated. The owner of the business actually works in the building. No matter the size of your garden need, Blue Mel's at 4930 West Loomis Road in Greenfield can supply and surpass all of your gardening needs. You can visit bluemills.com or call 414-282-4220.
And while we wait for Haley to call in, we did have a couple of questions come in. We had a lot of questions come in this week via a number of social media sites, our Facebook, our Instagram, YouTube, as well as the email twvgradio@gmail.com. So we're going to cover a couple of those. Now, one of the questions we had was a composting question. They've watched our YouTube video and suggested pine needles to be used as a brown material, and has anyone done that? Pine needles can be used as a brown material in your compost pile, but it takes an incredibly long time to break down. It's not going to break down in the 3 to 6 to 9 months or 12 months that a typical leaf would break down, even quicker than about 6 months for a leaf. It doesn't. It'll take a very long time, but it doesn't make your soil acidic, so you don't have to worry about that. They also shredded paper, cardboard, that can be used.
They actually asked specifically about equine pine pellets, which is for horses, and I believe that's some sort of bedding for the horses.
Right, it's a pressured pellet. Yeah. It's not, from what I know about it, it's just a pressurized pellet, and it's not glued together or anything. But you could use that, and there are YouTubers, John Colder from Growing Your Greens, who was on last week. He uses some of those pellets to increase that brown material in his compost pile. But again, if you have if they're glue based, you don't want to use them, which I don't think they are with the horses. But you could use that. But again, brown materials, cardboard can be used. I know there's glue in that. Shredded paper, there's some ink in that. But again, with the levels of toxicity that we've probably ingested, what little bit of those glues and inks that are in the papers probably are just fine. We use shredded paper and the whole deal, so that works just fine. What's another one that we have that when planting potatoes with the long sprouts, we've all seen this, whether we bought them from the grocery store or a grocery store, organic grocery store, or anywhere, that the sprouts, the eyes are very long on the potato.
So they want to know when they plant that potato, should they, if the sprout is really long, say you left it in your potato leaving area and they sprouted and the sprout got really long, they want to know if they need to make sure that sprout is above ground or underground. And you want to put it underground.
Underground, unless it's like 9 or 12 inches long. Again, you don't want to snap this thing off, because if you do snap it off, what that sprout is doing is the potato itself is the energy source for the sprout, which will soon be the plant that will generate the new potatoes. So by breaking that off, you're putting the potato back in a recovery mode. And you want to not do that. You want to just go ahead and bury that if the stem, if that eye or that white portion the stalk is 3 or 4 inches, go ahead and bury that. It'll pierce through the soil. It'll be fine. If otherwise really long, try to bury it like you would lay it under the ground and bury it that way. So that would work as well. So another one we had was another question we had: where can you buy the grow bags we use? We use a number of grow bags. You can go to rootmaker.com. You can also go under the radio tab and see that. What's another question that we had, Holly?
Do you know if railroad ties are dangerous to use for raised beds? I've heard they are full of arsenic.
That is correct. They are not good for raised beds. No. If you're going to maybe construct a flower bed or something like that, that's fine, but they can leach that arsenic into the soil. Now, different studies, I know the University of Oklahoma did a study back in the mid-90s and found that the leaching of arsenic, which was in pressure-treated lumber at the time, was no more than the natural amount of arsenic that was found native in soil. But I would still shy away from using that type of material in your raised beds. I would go with a pressure-treated lumber now has the copper, which is fine, or a cedar, which is expensive, or a pine, which is the yellow wood that you can just paint, would be fine. But yeah, don't use the railroad ties. It just doesn't work at all.
Okay, so somebody asked, how do they keep rhubarb from flowering? I started mine from seed a couple years ago. We had a warm spring and it flowered early. This year hasn't been warm, so I thought it would be a good year for it again. But it's flowering right off the bat after putting out 2 or 3 leaves.
Based on the variety in which you decide to grow. Some are more sensitive and just go to flower quicker. Flower meaning go to seed. It puts a giant stalk up the center. What happens then is you just want to snap that flower bud off and put more energy into the leaves. Other plants, based on how stressed they are, whether warm temperatures, cold temperatures, that type of thing, can also make your rhubarb go to seed. But you just want to continue to snap that flower bud off to prevent the seed from developing and taking energy away from the actual plant itself. So that should be just something you want to do. And you just keep snapping it off. It's not a problem. It's just going to put more energy into the actual plant.
Okay, so then we had a question on Facebook where they have some mushrooms just in one corner of their yard, and their dog always tries to eat them, and one time the dog ate them and got sick. And so she wanted to know how to either get rid of the mushrooms, but obviously didn't want to use any chemicals since the dog likes that portion of the yard. And so I did some research, and the one thing you can do is the reason why you're getting mushrooms in that portion of your yard, first of all, is because it's too moist, essentially.
It's a swampy,
boggy. It's like a swampy, boggy area. So you could always put a raised flower bed or raised vegetable bed over in that area, or you can try to pull the mushrooms out of the ground as much as possible, and kind of, if you can't, at least snap them at ground level. And then what you can also do is take soapy water and spray that area, and it's supposed to help repel all the mushrooms from growing. And
you can also just take a rake and knock them down.
Right. But if you do that, you want to make sure that you pick them up, obviously, if your dog's going to eat them. And if you do snap them off or try to pull them out, then you want to make sure you wash your hands, because you don't know what kind of mushrooms those are.
Right. Not all mushrooms are edible, and if you consume, mushrooms are one of these fungi that if you consume the wrong kind, you die.
Right.
There's no ifs, ands about it. That's just the way nature works. Anne emailed us last night, and she is looking for 2 disease-resistant pear trees that she would like to plant in her yard here in Wisconsin. And do we have any suggestions on those?
So yeah, I found out a lot of them aren't necessarily disease resistant. There's something called fire blight that attacks pear trees, and so some are more disease resistant or more disease tolerant than others. And one of them, or 3 of them, are the Kieffer pears, Kieffer, Ledbetter, Ledbetter, and the classic Bartlett pear.
Now, you don't have to necessarily, if you're going to buy pear trees or any type of fruit trees, there are some that, and keep this in mind, there are some that will just blossom. I know there's a cherry variety that just puts the blooms on. They don't put the cherries on. It's just for decoration. Now, why waste the space if you're going to plant a cherry tree that just produces blooms and no fruit? I don't know. But some of these trees need to have a partner to cross-pollinate with. Other trees are self-pollinating. Our pear tree in the front yard is self-pollinating. So we don't have to have an adjacent tree to cross-pollinate. So if you're going to go buy trees, keep that in mind, the type you want, and make sure if it needs a cross-pollinating, another tree to cross-pollinate with, you get that, because if you don't, you're just going to have a big tree and very little to no fruit because there's no cross-pollination that takes place.
If you have a gardening question or comment, feel free to call into us at 414-444-5250, and we can certainly answer that for you, or anything kind of gardening related.
Now we're going to jump on. We want question number 5 here we had Okay. So do you suggest do you have any suggestions on what I can grow indoors in an area? What do you suggest I can grow indoors?
Okay.
Yeah. And then that was when you send a question to us, you have to be vague. Or you're too vague. You got to be more. Give me more information than that.
So, yeah, I don't have an outdoor area to grow, but I would love to get some herbs or something going this year. And they were excited because of the seeds only being 99 cents a pack. So we suggested to grow under a window or a grow light.
Right.
And we would suggest a Happy Leaf LED grow light because that is a really great grow light.
Okay. Caller, you're on the air. What is your question?
My question is, where can I find purple sweet potatoes to grow?
Well, purple sweet potatoes, there's a couple of ways you can do. You can just go to the local, you can go to Woodman's or go to your grocery store and see if they have an organic variety or even an inorganic variety of purple sweet potato, and then you can actually get it to sprout, and you can take the slips off of that. You don't have to necessarily go and buy the actual slips themselves, which can be quite expensive to do, and you can go that route and go that way.
So you simply would take that potato and some toothpicks and a jar, a wide enough jar where you can have it sit in some water but not all the way, and then you put the toothpicks in the side about halfway through. So half of the potato is submerged in water and the other half is in the air. And the potato will put roots on into the water, and then it will grow out the top. Vines essentially is what they are, and then you can take your slips from that.
Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Thank you for listening.
Caller, you have a question?
Yes. Could you repeat again what that was? The gentleman called in regarding the bags you can use for bags under your eyes.
Okay, so grapeseed oil. Grapeseed oil is great for your skin, as I had found out. It won't clog your pores, and if you put it under your eyes where you have circles or bags, it's supposed to help reduce that, to help reduce those problems under your eyes.
And you said it helped reduce pores?
It won't reduce your pores. It won't clog your pores. There's a lot of different oils out there that people are now putting on their skin, and they're finding that they will clog your pores. So grapeseed oil will not clog your pores. So
okay,
when I was doing some research, what you do is you kind of put it in your hands, warm it up, and then lightly put it over your face.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. One other question.
Yes.
I have a couple of patches of Creeping Charlie.
Okay.
I want to dig those out because, and then I want to know if I put down the road grass. Forgot what you call it. Those road
sod.
Sod.
Mm-hmm.
Would that work? How much time would I need to go past, or would you suggest I dig that out and just later sprinkle some grass seed out?
Economically, the grass seed would be the cheaper way. The sod is usually a very dense, thick carpet of grass, and by removing the roots of the creeping Charlie, which is very invasive, it's part of the mint family and just nobody likes it, by putting that sod down, you're going to have a much more higher chance of smothering out what little creeping Charlie might still be left in the soil versus just seeding it with grass seed. If you seed it with grass seed, there's a good chance that grass seed is not going to have the speed and germination and growth to smother out what creeping Charlie is going to emerge after you've removed the roots.
Okay. All right. Now, how soon should I put that sod down?
based on where you get the sod, I would just go ahead and wait until it's warmed up, which probably in the next week here. But I would check with who you're buying the sod with. They would have a much better understanding of when to place that sod. But usually as the temperatures warm up, you should be ready to go anytime.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Caller, you have a question.
Hello?
Hello, you're on the air.
Okay, yeah, I was calling. Usually I take the leaves out of my tree and I put them in my garden and turn them over. But I heard you say I shouldn't till the soil. So I went over there to look at the garden, and the garden is covered with what appear to be wild onions. What can I do about that?
You want to dig those onions up. You want to dig them up, and you don't want to eat them. Well, I guess you probably could.
You want to do research first, but you want to just remove them. You don't want to have a chemical application because you're in an edible garden. Just simply take a garden fork or a shovel or trowel and just remove the roots, the whole deal, and compost them or get them out of your garden, and you'll be perfectly fine. There'll be no problem with that whatsoever.
Okay, so don't till the leaves. Leave the leaves down and just take the onions up?
Yes, you can just leave the leaves down. You can remove the onions. You can also till the leaves in, but we always recommend leaving the leaves on top of the ground as a ground cover or as a mulch to help the ecosystem in the soil thrive better.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
You have a comment or question? You're on the air. What's your question?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. I'm calling because I have a burning bush that's been in for a good while, and it's just not turning red. And I don't know what to do to, I thought it would just do its own thing. But is there something I can do to encourage it to turn red, to burn?
You got a burning bush that is not burning or turning red. I've never heard of that. I'm sure many people have. Holly's going to do a little research on that. And I would assume one thing that has to do with a lot of the plants that we are growing here is we're about 30 days later.
Is it near a building?
It's right. It's supposed to be an accent bush that's right by our house.
Okay, so they usually don't get enough sunlight on all sides of the plant, so that could have an effect on it.
Sure, that could be.
So
all right.
you can dig it up and move it, or just leave it there for looks and just allow it to do what it does.
And also, if you see, they can easily become affected by spider mites. So that's something to look at. If you ever see like tiny little holes in the leaves of the plant, that could be from spider mites. And you can, if you start to see that on the plant, the little tiny holes in the leaves, you can spray it with liquid seaweed. It's 2 tablespoons of liquid seaweed per 1 gallon of water, and you can get liquid seaweed from your local garden center.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And we'll be back with more of your questions right after this.
Have a gardening question? You can call into the ivorganic.com hotline at 414-444-5250 right now.
Hodgson Mill, 125 years of experience producing stone ground organic flour and cornmeal made from premium quality whole grains. Family-owned company, continual standards that are non-GMO, organic at the highest safety levels, offering a wide variety of flours, pasta, baking mixes, flaxseed, and more, even kosher and gluten-free options. Found at most local grocers like Woodman's. For more information and recipes, visit HodgsonMill.com. That's HODGSONMILL.com.
The number one key to healthy, productive plants are the roots. Starting from seed to full-grown plants, Rootmaker.com has the answer. From seed starting trays with an innovative design that air prunes the roots, creating a fabulous root system, never again will you have root-bound plants, to multiple gallon grow bag sizes to raised beds. Rootmaker.com has your grow needs covered. Visit Rootmaker.com.
Do you have a little space to grow? Check out Greenstock Vertical Gardens at GreenstockGarden.com. Greenstock is engineered to grow with its innovative space and water-saving design. You can grow vegetables, flowers, herbs, and even strawberries in just 2 square feet of space. Grow up instead of out. Perfect for the porch, patio, or deck. Grow up to 30 plants in a small space. GreenstockGarden.com has everything you need to grow in the littlest of spaces. Proudly made in the USA. For more information and to purchase, visit greenstalkgarden.com. Beans and Barley Market and Cafe, a neighborhood specialty grocery store for the East Side and greater Milwaukee area, where you can find all you need, from fresh produce to bakery to organic frozen dinners, from wine to fresh squeezed carrot juice. A health food store with hundreds of products, vitamins, supplements, bath and body items, magazines, cards, books, and a knowledgeable staff. Catering available. Open daily at 8 a.m. The restaurant serves breakfast, lunch, and dinner 7 days a week with a menu of good, healthy, homemade food, including vegetarian and non-vegetarian specialties. 1901 East North Avenue, Milwaukee, 414-278-7878, and online at beansandbarley.com.
Hi, I'm John Lewandowski, retail manager of Blue Mel's Garden and Landscape Center. Now, I'm not going to tell you about our awesome dome-grown plants, our beautiful pottery, or our 40 varieties of landscape materials. What I am going to tell you is that Blue Mel's is a local, independent, family-owned garden center that truly cares about your garden or landscape project. So if you're looking for that one garden center that actually cares about you, come to Blue Mel's Garden and Landscape Center. We've been treating our customers like family since 1955.
Blue Mel's, 4930 West Loomis Road, 414-282-4220.
Now back to the Wisconsin Vegetable Garden Radio Show.
Holly's family apparently forbids rhubarb to be planted in the garden. I don't know what happened years ago. Must have been a big rhubarb. I don't know.
He's not lying. It's a true story.
Yeah.
With your hosts, Joey and Hallie Baird.
Welcome back to the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener Radio Show. The WisconsinVegetableGardener.com is your destination for all things gardening. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, 850 videos, and a whole lot more. We're going to jump back to the ivorganics.com hotline at 414-444-5250 with more garden questions. Caller, you are on the air. What is your question?
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
It was a caller that called in about the grapeseed oil.
Yes.
For the eyes?
Yes.
Where would I might find that at?
You could just use grapeseed oil you find at your local grocer.
Woodman's or Beans and Barley, that type of thing.
Yeah.
They'll have
oil is usually found in the baking section, cooking oil, and you just find it at your local grocer.
Okay. Woodman's and
Woodman's would be my number one choice. Beans and Barley would be the secondary choice. Woodman's would carry it with no problem.
Oh yeah, they have a huge cooking oil section.
Okay, then. Thanks much, man. I've been watching your show, listening to your show since the inception.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank
we
you.
appreciate that.
So that's put it on WNOV at 8 o'clock. Listen to the gospel till 9 o'clock till y'all come on.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Great job. Great job.
Wonderful. Caller, you're on the air. Do you have a question?
Hello?
Yes, you're on the air. What would your question be?
Hi. I know you had this conversation the earlier part of the year, but this is in regards to fertilizers for the grass.
Okay.
And anyway, my neighbor have a dog, and so they don't put down fertilizer or anything because the dog may get sick with, But what can you use that doesn't have chemicals in it? Because he didn't ask for my advice, but his dandelion would be so terrible. He's out there now. He's out there every day trying to dig up dandelions and crabgrass, So what is it that you can use in the place of fertilizers and, sprays?
I know that people will put Milorganite on their grass.
Okay.
They'll sprinkle that around. I don't know if it does anything to dandelions.
Oh.
We encourage not to destroy the dandelions because that is the first feed that these honeybees have since they went into the hive last winter.
Dandelions are actually really beneficial to, as Joy had mentioned, bees. And then even yourself, you can eat those dandelions and use them for different things.
Yeah, I heard that conversation with you guys before.
Right. But, yeah, the reason why we don't, because you're like your neighbor, he's spraying those dandelions.
Well, he doesn't spray at all. He doesn't do any of that.
Oh, okay. What some people do is they'll spray the dandelions, and that toxicity from that chemical, the bees will come and try to extract that pollen, get that on them, take it back to the hive, and basically the hive will be, well, I don't know if they all die off.
At this point, if he really is that disturbed by them, then digging them up is really his only choice if he's not wanting to use chemicals.
Okay, then. Thank you so much for taking my call.
Absolutely. Thank you for listening. So if you have a question, we've got...
And then,
okay, well, yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So the guy who called earlier about the coconut oil asking if it has antioxidants in it, it does. However, coconut oil can clog your pores. So if you it's not, if you use it like on your feet or your hands or your legs or something, as long as you're not too sensitive to having your pores clogged, it's not really going to affect them. But on your face, that could become a problem. So as you had asked about grapeseed oil, that's better for your skin on your face versus using coconut oil on your face.
Right. So there you go. So we got a few more minutes. We'll answer a few more questions here when it comes to questions about gardening. So we have, let's see here, a number of questions came in. What kind of determinate tomatoes do you like to grow in our garden? Well, there's a variety of determinate Roma, Ace 55,
Rutgers, and so all these have different days to maturity. Right. So Roma is 73 to 80 days. Ace 55.
Right. Ace 55.
So and you want to kind of.
And to find out more, you can go to the tomato tab on our website, the WisconsinVegetableGardener.com, and that'll list all the types, the determinate, indeterminate, and the days to maturity.
So the nice guy here who runs our board, Mr. Debo, he has a question about his collard greens.
I'm sure I'm not the only one who is faced with this problem. It's not just the collard greens. I really noticed it with my turnip and mustard greens as well, that they have these little holes in them, and it's throughout the entire bed. So I'm really concerned. I put the little powder stuff down, but it appears to wash away in rain. First of all, what is it that might be eating them in that way at such a great force, or whatever you want to call it? And then the collards, I even see it with them, and those are much larger leaves. So if he can help me.
Absolutely.
So it could be either the cabbage looper, the cabbage worm, or aphids. And so you can do a spray of dish soap and water, and then you can even add some rubbing alcohol into that, and that will help get rid of them. And then there's also, you could put some fish emulsion in there, which you can get at your local garden center, and about 1 tablespoon per about half gallon.
What this it's going to kill and knock
flea beetles. That was the other one. Yeah.
It's going to knock off these bugs and prevent them from eating. You can also can't use neem oil on this as well.
Yeah.
But you want to use cold pressed neem oil.
Right.
That's the good stuff. That will also kill these bugs because they're soft body insects. Mm-hmm. And by applying this dish soap or the neem oil, it's going to eat away what skin they have. It's a terrible thing, but it works. And you can also blast them with a hose and try to dislodge many of them, and then apply this application of dish soap, rubbing alcohol, and or the neem oil, the cold pressed neem oil. So that hopefully does help. So with the show is made possible by the sponsors you hear throughout the program. Without them, we are not here every Saturday morning, and because of that, they are investing their time and their money into allowing us to be here.
Nasala Kombucha is the executive sponsor of the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener radio show. Nasala is made in Wisconsin with local tea and natural herbs. Look for it in the refrigerator aisle at your local grocer. If you don't see it, ask for it, because if it's not Nasala Kombucha, it's not kombucha. Find out more at nasala.com.
Well, Haley was not able to be on today. We will certainly get her on in the future. That is not a problem. Things come up in life, and that's why that stuff happens.
But hey, we had some great questions.
We had a lot of great questions.
Definitely, if you have questions throughout the week, feel free to email us at twvgradio@gmail.com, or feel free to call in next week.
You can go to the website, thewisconsinvegetablegardener.com, and click on the question button if you want to submit something there. Next week, how healthy is your soil? As well as we'll talk about pollinators. They're more than just bees that help pollinate your fruits and vegetables. Also, the founder of GardenNerd.com and author of Gardeners for Geeks, Christy Willingham from Southern California, will be with us and to talk about all of that and how she got into gardening. For
Holly Baird,
I'm Joey Baird, and until next week, we will see you in the garden.